15 years ago, my former husband betrayed me by cheating with his childhood friend, leading to the birth of their child and ultimately causing our divorce. In the aftermath, I endured harassment from his affair partner, which forced me to resign from my job during a particularly challenging period. It was at my lowest point that my current husband entered my life, rescuing me, and together we have since built a joyful family, living a tranquil existence. However, our happiness was unexpectedly disrupted when I crossed paths with my ex-husband, who had abandoned me 15 years ago. With a smug smile, he remarked, "You're still single, aren't you? No one would marry a woman who can't have kids. You still can't say anything but nasty comments, can you?" Dismissing his derogatory remarks, I proudly introduced my son, whose resemblance to me was striking. Identifying myself as Emily Johnson, a 38-year-old woman, I shared that I live happily with my 13-year-old son, Kyle, my 11-year-old daughter, Lily, and my husband, Mike. Despite Kyle's rebellious phase, Mike effectively guides him when needed, while Lily, the youngest, effortlessly gets her way with her love for fashion and makeup. Despite the external noise, we live harmoniously, but the truth is, this is my second marriage following a painful divorce caused by my ex-husband's betrayal. Reflecting on my past, I recalled how John, my first husband, transformed from being supportive and cooperative into someone who blamed me for our inability to conceive. His sarcastic comments escalated, and he neglected household responsibilities, asserting that I wasn't fulfilling my role as a woman. His hurtful remarks, centered around my supposed infertility, culminated in our divorce, paving the way for the peaceful and fulfilling life I now enjoy with my new family. His words cut through me like a blade. "I would never have married you," he said, devoid of any remorse. The pain of his disdain lingered long after his departure. As if his words weren't enough, the calls from my in-laws intensified, their demands for a grandchild growing more impatient by the day. Initially, I dismissed their pleas, assuring myself that time was needed to build our family. But my mother-in-law's attitude soured with each passing day, her harsh words echoing in my ears. "You're useless if you can't have children," she'd say, comparing me unfavorably to my fertile sister-in-law. The pressure mounted relentlessly until one day, a respite presented itself in the form of an invitation from my close friend Sarah. John's absence due to purported work commitments made the offer all the more enticing. Little did I know, Sarah harbored a revelation that would shatter my fragile world. Over drinks, she confided in me, unveiling a truth too painful to comprehend. Jessica, John's childhood friend turned corporate heiress, was more than what she seemed. Despite our minimal interactions, Sarah revealed that Jessica and John shared a bond that transcended mere friendship. Sarah's words hit me like a thunderbolt. The image of them walking hand in hand flashed before my eyes, a stark betrayal of the vows we had once sworn. Despite my disbelief, Sarah's warning planted the seed of doubt, forcing me to confront the unsettling truth lurking beneath the surface of my seemingly perfect marriage. Suspicions of John's infidelity had been gnawing at me for a while. His demeanor had grown increasingly cold, and he consistently returned home late, citing extended work hours or client entertainment on weekends. Although I had a vague inkling, I feigned ignorance. However, after parting ways with Sarah one day, I decided to take matters into my own hands. Directly after meeting Sarah, I sought the assistance of a private investigator. The purpose was clear: to gather evidence of my husband's unfaithfulness. In less than a week, the investigator provided the damning proof, but despite the undeniable truth, I hesitated to immediately initiate a divorce. No matter how terrible a husband John had become, he was the person I had once pledged to spend my life with. A few days later, I confronted him at home. Upon entering, I found John, who typically arrived late, sitting at the dining table. Attempting to maintain a sarcastic tone, I said, "Oh, you're home. I thought you'd be late today as usual." Apologizing, he expressed a desire to talk, unaware that I had learned about his affair from Sarah. With a heavy heart, I confessed, "I want a divorce." In that moment, It became evident that John's involvement with Jessica was not merely a casual fling but a serious commitment. Shockingly, he disclosed, "Jessica's pregnant, so I'm going to marry her." The revelation left me speechless, and I struggled to comprehend the extent of his betrayal. In response, John displayed a brazen attitude, claiming that Jessica's ability to conceive and her beauty were reasons enough for him to choose her over me. I was stunned, unable to find words to express my pain. As I remained silent, John callously mentioned that even his mother had urged him to divorce me in favor of Jessica, who she preferred. Overwhelmed with sadness, tears began to flow uncontrollably. John, unfazed by my emotional turmoil, nonchalantly packed his belongings, asserting that he needed to leave for the sake of the child about to be born. Left without the strength to stop him, I later received unilateral divorce papers, accompanied by a note from Jessica, urging me to quickly end the marriage. As I read those contradictory words, blaming me for the stolen husband, I finally snapped out of my daze. Indignant, I realized I couldn't silently bear the blame for a marriage that crumbled due to another's actions. With newfound determination, I clutched the evidence, ready to confront the challenges that lay ahead. After gathering evidence through a private investigator, I promptly filed for divorce mediation. A few days into the process, an unexpected call disrupted my day. Answering the unknown number, I was met with Jessica's enraged voice on the other end. "What do you think you're doing? Why are you suing us?" she screamed. Her accusations cut through the air, blaming me for the turmoil. Despite her piercing tone, I maintained my composure. "It's obvious, isn't it? I know all about your infidelity," I replied calmly. Her rant continued, accusing me of demanding alimony despite her pregnancy. Her words stung, but I remained resolute. With determination, I insisted on settling the matter in court, hanging up the phone to end the tirade. Subsequently, the evidence I presented during mediation confirmed John and Jessica's affair as adultery. John's attempt to blame my infertility fell flat, as no conclusive test results implicated me. Within a year, the divorce was settled, with John and Jessica each providing lump sum alimony payments, totaling $4,000 and $20,000, respectively. Opting for a swift resolution, I refused a prolonged payment plan. Yet, my ordeal persisted beyond the legal proceedings. Rumors of deceit and betrayal circulated among our mutual friends, tarnishing my reputation. Some even sympathized with John and Jessica, believing their distorted version of events. Despite my innocence, Jessica's influence in our shared workplace garnered preferential treatment, while I faced isolation and unjust accusations. Despite the adversity, I refused to succumb to their manipulation, standing firm in the face of adversity. Feeling mentally cornered, I made the difficult decision to resign from my job. During my job search, an unexpected headhunting offer came from another company, praising my diligence and talent. At my new workplace, I marveled at the absence of favoritism and nepotism, a stark contrast to my previous experience. My admiration extended to my wonderful boss, Mike, who paid close attention to every employee. Amidst my lowest point post-divorce, Mike's kind support became a beacon of light. Our interactions evolved beyond work-related discussions, delving into our personal lives. As our relationship deepened, Mike proposed, igniting my fears about infertility, a scar from my past rejection. Bravely confessing my concerns, Mike responded earnestly, emphasizing that his love for me surpassed any potential challenges. His comforting words and gentle hug filled me with happiness, solidifying my decision to marry him. Soon after our marriage, we welcomed our first child, Kyle, followed by our daughter Lily. Our family thrived, and happiness enveloped our lives until an unexpected encounter disrupted the tranquility. Attending a friend's wedding, I stumbled upon my ex-husband, John, after 15 years. Panic briefly gripped me, but I recalled a connection between the bride and groom. Ignoring him, I attempted to walk past, only to be confronted by John's loud and drunken remarks. "Hey, have you put on weight? It's been so long," he bellowed, oblivious to the rudeness. I mentally acknowledged his unchanged, unpleasant demeanor. To make matters worse, he called over his family, including Jessica and their son. Jessica, with a smirk, commented on my appearance, insinuating stress, eating, and questioning my fertility. Dumbfounded by their audacious behavior, I struggled to find words to respond. The weight of their insensitive comments hung in the air, momentarily casting a shadow on the happiness I had built with Mike and our children. Observing their son's embarrassed demeanor, I couldn't help but notice his striking features. In the midst of their self-congratulatory remarks, I realized I hadn't been introduced to him. Interrupting their boasting, John proudly presented their son, emphasizing his intelligence and charm. Despite their apparent happiness, their son seemed uncomfortable with their behavior, displaying empathy beyond his years. Before I could leave, John's tight grip on my arm halted my steps. Accusing me of causing our divorce due to my infertility, he demanded restitution for the alimony I received. Jessica echoed his sentiments, insisting that families like theirs needed the money more than I did. Their son, however, pointed out my wedding ring, challenging their assumptions about my marital status. Their astonishment at my marriage was met with the unexpected arrival of my children, Kyle and Lily. As the truth unraveled, John and Jessica were left speechless, realizing that the woman they believed to be infertile now had 2 children. Their shock intensified as they learned of Kyle's achievements and Lily's aspirations for the prestigious school. Jessica's fixation on Kyle's school uniform hinted at her own aspirations for her daughter, revealing a deeper layer to their conversation. Despite their initial arrogance, the revelation challenged their perceptions, highlighting the unpredictability of life's twists and turns. I recognized the boy immediately. Wasn't he featured on TV recently? I remarked, sparking a conversation with John and Jessica. They confirmed his recent media presence, citing his violin practice for the day. However, their disbelief was palpable when I mentioned his violin practice, implying that I knew more than I should. John and Jessica, frozen in shock, questioned how I, who they believed to be infertile, could have such a family. Calmly addressing their confusion, I emphasized that our paths had diverged and there was no need to involve each other anymore. As I prepared to leave with my children, my husband, Mike, arrived, sensing the tension. His presence, however, shifted the dynamics dramatically. John and Jessica's expressions turned pale upon realizing Mike's significance as the CEO of the parent company of Jessica's father's business. Kyle, my son, took the opportunity to confront them, revealing their disparaging remarks about me. Lily and he had overheard their derogatory comments and decided to intervene. As the tension escalated, Mike's realization of the situation prompted a shift in the atmosphere. John attempted to defend himself, fearing repercussions from Mike's position, while Jessica's discontent intensified. Their son's emotional outburst exposed the gravity of their actions, as he grappled with the implications of their affair and its repercussions on his existence. In the midst of their stumbling explanations, the truth emerged, laying bare the extent of their insensitivity and deceit. As they struggled to justify their actions, the weight of their words lingered, exposing the fractures in their facade. I noticed the guests' curious stares, and Jessica, catching on, blushed and averted her eyes. Despite my lingering resentment toward John and Jessica, their son appeared genuinely kind, innocent in the complexities of their situation. As I prepared to console him, my husband Mike stepped in first, expressing gratitude for his defense of me. With a gentle pat on the boy's head, Mike's kindness shone through, and I followed suit with a smile. In a moment of vulnerability, I acknowledged my pregnancy, gently stroking my growing belly. With tears in his eyes, the boy seemed reassured as I assured him of his worth and his parents' love. John and Jessica, prompted by their son's question, affirmed their pride and joy in him, their expressions softened with sincerity. As we returned to our seats, the tension dissipated, and the wedding continued peacefully. Jessica and John approached us, hand in hand, expressing heartfelt apologies for their past actions. It was the first apology I had heard from them in over 15 years, a sign, perhaps, of changing perspectives through parenthood. With a genuine laugh, I accepted their apologies, recognizing that it was never too late for healing. As we made our way to the station, Kyle and Lily, ever considerate, offered their assistance, wrapping me in warmth and care. As we headed home, planning a family dinner of Dad's favorite hamburgers, I felt a sense of closure moving forward from the pains of the past. With a renewed vow to safeguard the happiness of my cherished family, I embraced the future, leaving behind the shadows of bygone years.